Episode 30, Let's Hug. The most romantic birthday. Ningxi, what should I do? I'm not as good as you imagine. Sometimes I'm really afraid that you look at me with such trusting eyes. If one day you find out that I'm not as you think, will you leave me? In the early morning, around 5 o'clock, Lu Tingxiao was awakened by a series of doorbell rings. Opening the door, he saw Lu Jingli anxiously standing outside. Bro, don't scold me first. This time it's a real emergency. If you don't go back now, little treasure is going to demolish the house. They can't reach you, and Ningxi's phone is also unreachable. They had to call me. At this moment, Ningxi's voice came from behind, instantly alert and clear. What's wrong with little treasure? I'll go back immediately. After speaking, she picked up her bag within 10 seconds and helped Lu Tingxiao tidy up his things. Hurry, let's go. The three of them quickly rushed back to the Lu residence. As they entered the courtyard, Ningxi was dumbfounded. What's going on here? What are those? Ningxi rubbed her eyes in amazement, looking at the humanoid objects with silver-white metal glow wandering everywhere. She felt like she had crossed into a different dimension. Lu Jingli blinked. Can't you see? Robots. Ningxi felt like she was going crazy. Of course, I can see, but why are there so many robots? Lu Jingli had a headache. This is one of Little Treasure's hobbies. It's been a while since he took them out for a walk. Now, due to some stimulation, they're all out. It feels like a zombie apocalypse. There were probably dozens of these robots visible at the scene, wreaking havoc everywhere. Digging up soil, running wildly, crashing into trees, destroying flowers, one even lifted a young maid. Accompanied by the maid's screams, chaos ensued. Seeing that the maid was about to fall from the robot's hands, Ningxi opened the car door and rushed over, catching her before she hit the ground. Are you okay, Wanwan? Wanwan patted her chest, still shocked, then looked at Ningxi with gratitude. Thank you, Miss Xiaoxi. Miss Xiaoxi, you're finally back. Please go check on young master quickly. Among the staff at the Lu residence, especially the maids, they were wary of Ningxi, but they dared not show it openly in front of her. Only Wanwan, who often went to the set to help Little Treasure deliver fruit juices to Ningxi, had a good impression of her. She felt that Ningxi wasn't arrogant despite the young and wealthy master's pampering. She was easygoing, humble, and approachable, so Wanwan liked her. Watching Ningxi swiftly rescue the maid like a hero, Lu Tingxiao's expression in the car was somewhat helpless. Lu Jingli, on the other hand, stuck his head out of the car window and wailed, Little Cece, you can't do this. You stole my job. Ah, help. While he was speaking, one of the robots grabbed his arm. Bro, save me. Quickly turn off these things. Lu Jingli, who had just been clamoring for a hero to save the beauty, was now asking for help himself. Lu Tingxiao wore an expression of helplessness. Little Treasure recently modified the program. Even if I can crack it, it'll take an hour. An hour? My hand will be useless by then. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Where is Little Treasure now? Ningxi asked urgently. He should be in the control room. Lu Tingxiao quickly got out of the car. I'll take you there. Okay. The two hurried towards the direction of the control room. Lu Jingli sadly watched their backs as they left. Hurry up, you two. A moment later, Lu Tingxiao arranged for a small open-top car, similar to a sightseeing vehicle. He quickly took her to a standalone building behind the golf course. The shape of this house was incredibly unique, with a material that looked like glass or some unknown metal. It had a highly futuristic and advanced appearance. The Lu estate was so large that even after staying for so many days, Ningxi hadn't explored every part of it. This was her first time visiting this place. This house has a mechanical device at the bottom that can rotate with the sun. The outer layer of the house is made of solar panels, and all the energy inside comes from solar power. The butler and maids are all robots. Lu Tingxiao played the role of a tour guide. So cool. Ningxi's face lit up with excitement, looking like a child. If you like it, you can come here often. I'll set up access permissions for you. I thought you wouldn't be interested in these things before, so I didn't bring you here, Lu Tingxiao said. No. I love these things. When I was a child, I always fantasized about being taken away by a flying saucer. Even when I grew up, I thought about dating a robot. Just thinking about it is so romantic. Maybe don't give her access permissions. As they reached the entrance, they saw a robot lying on the ground. Its eyes suddenly emitted a red light, seemingly scanning Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao. After scanning Lu Tingxiao, the robot struggled, making a sizzling sound of electric currents. Master, master. This robot, looking pitiful as it called out, master, intermittently, seemed like the house's caretaker. Lu Tingxiao sighed, opened a compartment behind the robot, manipulated something, and the robot's eyes dimmed, showing no response. Ningxi nervously approached and touched it. Why isn't it moving? Is it dead? Oh, wait. Is it scrapped? It's fine. I'll fix it later, Lu Tingxiao assured her. Okay, good. Otherwise, it would be a pity. This one looked quite handsome. Ningxi commented. Lu Tingxiao, let's just let it be scrapped. Lu Tingxiao directly entered the main building with facial recognition. Ningxi followed, looking around anxiously. Where is little treasure? The hall was filled with robots patrolling back and forth. Upon spotting Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao, they immediately turned in their direction. Then, ignoring Lu Tingxiao, they directly charged at Ningxi. Ah! What are they doing? Why are they all coming at me? Ningxi was startled. No matter how agile she was, she couldn't fight against these seemingly indestructible robots. Lu Tingxiao extended his arms under her armpits, gently lifting her from one side to another, avoiding the mechanical claws of one robot. He helplessly said, because you don't have the access permissions, they consider you an intruder. What should we do now? In the time it took to talk, Ningxi had already been swung around by Lu Tingxiao several times. Come closer to me, Lu Tingxiao ordered. Ah! How close? Ningxi looked bewildered. As close as possible, Lu Tingxiao replied. What now? In the time it took to speak, Ningxi had been swung around by Lu Tingxiao several times. There are two options. First, defeat them and break in, Lu Tingxiao said. There are so many, how do we fight them? What's the second option? She didn't want to fight these robots. The material looked painful, and she didn't want to be near them. The second, Lu Tingxiao glanced at her, I carry you in, because they won't attack me. Ningxi blinked, then extended her hand without hesitation, carry me. Watching the girl open her arms towards him for the first time, ripples of emotion stirred in Lu Tingxiao's icy eyes. Ah! It's happening again. Lu Tingxiao, hurry. Ningxi rushed towards him, acting all flustered. Sure enough, when she stuck close to Lu Tingxiao, the robots immediately refrained from touching her. Impressive. As her warm and fragrant body suddenly pressed against him, Lu Tingxiao momentarily felt dazed before bending down to lift her around the waist. Then, step by step, they headed towards the spiral staircase. This was probably the first time he had been so close to her while she was conscious. He really wished this journey would never end. If Lu Jingli knew what his brother was thinking at the moment. Well, while Lu Tingxiao and Ningxi ascended the stairs, the robots followed behind, maintaining a constant but not too close distance. To keep her balance, Ningxi looped her arms around the man's neck, breathing in the cold yet pleasant scent of him. She watched the group of robots behind them, following the winding stairs, and felt a strange sense of romance. However, this pink bubble didn't last long. When they successfully reached the top floor and were about to open the silver-white door, the robots behind suddenly made a clattering sound. Then, in unison, they extended iron arms towards them, and within the stretch and retract of the arms, a projectile similar to a gun muzzle emerged. Ningxi was instantly shocked. Oh my gosh. Are they for real? I thought they were just toys. Is it really okay to give such dangerous and deadly things to a 5-year-old child? She didn't know how to criticize Lu Tingxiao's parenting style anymore. Now what? Ningxi was on the verge of tears. They were just here to find little treasure. Why did they have to go through so many obstacles, making it seem like they were raiding a dungeon in a game? Lu Tingxiao grasped her shoulders, pushed her behind the door panel, and then positioned his entire body in front of her, with one arm propped behind her. After 3 seconds of silence, Ningxi swallowed hard and said, Boss, do you know your wall slamming posture is very standard? Wall slam? This was obviously another term that Lu Tingxiao didn't understand. Ningxi face-bombed. The invisible flirting was the most lethal. At that moment, Ningxi suddenly saw a robot on the opposite side directly firing a bullet at Lu Tingxiao's back. Lu Tingxiao. Watch out. Behind you. But it was too late. Lu Tingxiao shielded her from the bullet, and his body emitted a muffled groan. Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi completely panicked. I'm fine, Lu Tingxiao slowly lifted his head. How is that possible? Lu Tingxiao, how are you? I'll take you to, blah. Ningxi was about to say something when her stomach suddenly churned. Lu Tingxiao, you smell so bad. What's that awful odor? With a black expression, Lu Tingxiao took off his jacket, revealing a disgusting lump of sticky substance on the back of his suit. Ningxi covered her nose. While relieved that he was okay, she couldn't help but say, "What is this? Isn't it poop?" Lu Tingxiao reached out, through the jacket far below, and with an expressionless face, said, "Canned herring, supposedly the world's smelliest canned food. Lu Jingli's idea." Ningxi's mouth twitched. Second young master is indeed talented. This isn't just smelly, it's a biochemical weapon. As soon as she finished speaking, the door behind her suddenly opened automatically to both sides. "Let's go." Lu Tingxiao held her hand and walked inside. The movement was natural. Ningxi glanced at their clasped hands. Although she knew Lu Tingxiao was just afraid of any unexpected incidents, a strange emotion welled up in her heart. The control room was dimly lit, with dozens of computers emitting a faint cold light. Ningxi followed Lu Tingxiao through the room until they finally found Little Treasure at the largest machine. Underneath the massive entanglement of wires, Little Treasure sat in his specially customized small chair, staring blankly at the flickering screen. Beside him stood a small robot about his size, its gun barrel pointed straight at her and Lu Tingxiao. Seeing Little Treasure's cold and vacant expression, Ningxi felt as if her heart had been tightly gripped by an iron claw, making it almost impossible to breathe. "Little Treasure," she quivered as she softly called his name. Little Treasure stared at the screen, showing no response. Ningxi was genuinely scared. She had only heard about Little Treasure's seizures from Lu Chen and the others, but she had never witnessed it herself. "What should we do? It's all my fault." "Ningxi, don't blame yourself. It's common for him to be like this. Just call his name a few more times." Lu Tingxiao comforted her. In reality, Lu Tingxiao only said this because it was Ningxi. If it were someone else, it wouldn't be so simple. Ningxi tried to calm herself and cautiously approached him step by step. The small robot's head turned as she moved, while Little Treasure remained unresponsive. Ningxi reached Little Treasure and slowly crouched down. She delicately took hold of his tiny hand. "Little Treasure. Auntie's back. I'm sorry. Auntie had some trouble last night, so I couldn't come back." Ningxi couldn't explain what had happened, so she could only lower her head in discomfort. After some time, a small fist suddenly appeared in her line of sight. Then, the little fist slowly opened, revealing a soft palm with a pink hairpin lying quietly inside. The hairpin was made up of about 100 small pink gems, forming a heart shape that glittered under the cold light of the machines. "What's this?" Ningxi immediately raised her head, surprised and delighted. Even though the little one's face still showed no expression. At the side, Lu Tingxiao looked at the hairpin and spoke, "This is a birthday gift from Little Treasure to you." "For me?" It was really made of diamonds. Ningxi felt a bit embarrassed. Seeing her hesitation, Lu Tingxiao explained in a timely manner, "It's just ordinary cubic zirconia, not valuable." But all 99 cubic zirconia were personally attached by Little Treasure, one by one. Ningxi was deeply moved upon hearing this. She didn't reach for the hairpin. Instead, she said to Little Treasure, "Can Auntie put it on?" Little Treasure, somewhat slow, shifted his gaze to the hairpin and then extended his little hand, awkwardly placing the hairpin by her ear. Ningxi touched the hairpin and looked delighted. "Is it pretty?" Little Treasure nodded. Finally receiving a response from Little Treasure, Ningxi couldn't help it any longer and hugged the little guy tightly. At the same time, there was a bang, and the small robot beside them shot out a burst of colorful streamers, playing the birthday song. Looking up at the floating streamers, Ningxi's eyes were slightly moist. "Thank you, my dear. This is the most romantic birthday I've ever had." Little Bun had carefully prepared birthday gifts and surprises for her. From the initial anticipation to the gradual disappointment, and then the panic and fear of losing contact, how cruel must this process have been for him? Thinking about this, Ningxi's heart ached like it was being twisted with a knife, and she didn't want to let go of Little Treasure for a moment. Lu Tingxiao didn't want to disturb them, but for the sake of their dwindling brotherly bond, he still spoke up. "Ningxi, ask Little Treasure to recall those robots." "Oh, right. Only now did Ningxi remember that there was still a group of bear robots causing trouble and holding on to Lu Jingli's arm. So, she quickly said to Little Bun, "Sweetie, can you call them back?" Little Bun nodded and faced the screen, skillfully operating the keyboard with his short fingers. Ningxi watched in admiration. Sweetie, how are you so amazing? I thought you only liked drawing. You're really, really amazing. In the past few years, I've been a study fanatic, learning everything like crazy, but I can't grasp things like programming, C language, or C++. It's been a nightmare for me, but you're only 5 years old. You're so good at it. A true genius. Little Bun's expression remained wooden, but the light in his eyes became brighter. However, Lu Tingxiao couldn't stand by any longer. He sighed lightly. Ningxi, you shouldn't praise him at this time. Oh, right. Ningxi finally realized that Little Bun had caused a big mess. She scratched her head in embarrassment and looked at Lu Tingxiao. Are you going to ask me to educate him not to do this again? He did fulfill the promises he made to me before. He stopped fasting and didn't throw things around anymore. But now, his methods have become more advanced. If I tell him not to do this now, what if he comes up with even more sophisticated methods next time? Lu Tingxiao sighed. For Little Bun, that's indeed possible. Ningxi spread her hands. Considering all this, I think I shouldn't say anything to him. Actually, for her own sake, she didn't want to scold Little Bun under the current circumstances. It hurt too much. She cared so much about him, how could she bear to reprimand him? Fortunately, Lu Tingxiao didn't insist in the end. The three of them took the open-top sightseeing car back to the entrance of the residence. Ningxi was surprised to see that the robots that had been causing chaos earlier were now standing in neat rows, as if welcoming them. The scene was quite spectacular. The only thing spoiling the atmosphere was the wailing from the side. Bro, why did you take so long? My freaking arm is dislocated. Is a dislocated arm worth such screaming? Ningxi rolled her eyes at him, jumped down, grabbed his arm, and with a snap, she reset it. Ah! Lu Jingli let out a pig-like scream. Ningxi patted his arm. Stop howling. It's fixed. Try moving it. Huh? Lu Jingli blinked, moved his arm, and indeed, it was better. Still feeling uneasy, he muttered, You didn't set it crooked, did you? How could that happen? I'm experienced. Ningxi said confidently. Lu Jingli looked at her with suspicion. May I ask why you have so much experience in this? Because I used to fight with Jiong a lot. I fixed his dislocated arm several times. Ningxi answered casually. Are you sure it was fighting and not you unilaterally beating him up? He was genuinely worried about his brother's future. Would he end up being domestically abused? Well, considering his brother's temperament, he would probably enjoy it.